All right, here's the way I see it. If Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe can be reinstated, if the Vikings can play back-to-back games in Dublin and London this season, if North Dakota can now have a top speed limit of 80 miles per hour, by the way, how many states do you think have 80
Texas
plus?
For sure. I'm singing, what was it?
Yes. The number one, the highest speed limit in the land is 85, and it is Texas. You are correct, Dani.
The Autobahn that is Texas.
Yeah. If the Rockies can be on pace to lose 130-something games, if Bill Belichick can sit next to his girlfriend's father at the Miss Maine USA pageant, and if the Rams can go to Maui for minicamp, we can most certainly deliver this edition of Cardinals Underground, Paulie Podcast, Darren Urban, and Dani Sureck, who is just itching to get to Getting Culture.
It's a really good one. And we're back on camera this week.
Woo-hoo!
Shout out to Alex.
So not necessarily in that order. In fact, none of the above will really be covered, except for Getting Culture, which we can't wait for.
I don't know. I see a lot of those things on the rundown.
As we are waiting here. We are in waiting mode, are we not?
Yes,
right?
we are.
This might as well be a waiting room, and then when your name is called, your number is called, the light comes on and it's your turn. But
how badly did you miss your light last week, Paul?
It was sort of there in spirit, even though it wasn't on camera. You're right, Darren. But right now, I'm just praying to the schedule gods. I left the obligatory voicemail for Raj about the Cardinals schedule and to be kind with the road trip to Cincinnati and Tampa in particular. See, really, this year's schedule for the Cardinals is about who are you going to play early and who are you going to play late.
And who are you maybe going to play Thanksgiving?
Or Christmas.
For some people.
Or Christmas, right?
Christmas was all announced.
Was it all announced?
Yeah.
All the okay.
Catch up. You got to keep up, Paulie.
You have Christmas
Wait,
off.
I've been tracking them here. You're right. Okay, you're right. Absolutely.
Christmas is done.
Okay. All right. So at this and the international games are done.
Done.
Okay.
We don't know Thanksgiving yet, and I keep getting this vibe that Dani has a dog in that fight, but I can't speak for sure.
Well, one of our opponents, one of our road games, hosts Thanksgiving every year, so that would be really nice for a selfish reason to just be home for Thanksgiving.
Is it a big deal in Dallas? Because I covered the Lions for a few years in Detroit. It is a really big deal in Detroit.
Yes. It wasn't until I was out here for Thanksgiving and doing Friendsgiving or going, with friends, families, that I realized most people do Thanksgiving early in the day, like lunchtime. That's not how it works in Texas, at least around Dallas. I can't speak for Houston, but in Dallas, you don't eat Thanksgiving until halftime. Everybody gathers at the start of the game, and you're snacking during the first half, and then during the halftime performance on Thanksgiving, that's when you sit down and you have your meal. And then when you're nice and full, you go and you sit on the couch for the second half. And people like to have Thanksgiving at like 11 in the morning, noon.
See, I like that game plan. In Detroit, it's an earlier game, so you go to the game, and then the meal is afterwards, and you end up, friends and relatives' houses after the game. But that's good, halftime. And it's extended halftime, because usually there's a big performance, right?
Don't get me started on thinking about green bean casserole this early in the year, Paul.
No, we can't.
It's May. We're not talking green bean casserole.
No, we can't get that divisive. I mean, if we want to get divisive about a holiday, we'll talk Mother's Day, right, Darren?
Oh, my God.
That was divisive before we started recording.
Let me just say, I told my wife at one point, I'm like, look, I don't want to say bad things about the Mother's Day cards, but again, now I'm sounding like get off my lawn guy, but like when you go to the store now and a greeting card costs like $7, and I'm like, you know what? I said, from now on, I said, make sure you tell the boys, I want no Father's Day cards. Put it all aside, and then we'll have a nice little nest egg for whatever grandchildren that might need to go to college that probably will pay for it if you don't buy me Father's Day
Make your
cards.
own cards. My sisters and I used to do that. You can make a pop-up card. Although I will say one of the best gifts we ever gave, although my sisters would disagree.
For Mother's Day?
For Mother's Day. Okay. We were young, and we gave her a shoebox full of coupons. So the coupons would say, like, we won't fight for the day. We will do the dishwasher. Elementary school young. And each coupon could be used, I don't know, up to 3 times. But
were they effective?
But there were no expiration dates.
Right, but if your mother is giving you the we won't fight and she hands it to you,
I don't think my mom ever
middle,
used them. But my sisters weren't happy that you could use them multiple times. That was my decision.
Wow, that's tough.
You know what? If you guys are getting shopping advice from yours truly, then really it's a bad day for the both of you. What are you guys even thinking? Don't make your own card and don't spend $7 per card. Just go to the dollar store. They have tons of cards. $1.25. Some are less than $1. I know because I walked in last week and I bought like 5 of them. They were so cheap. I'm like, well, this one could be good. This one could be good. Maybe the kids will like this one. I actually got one from the dog. I violated my own rule on that point.
Cheeto got his own card?
Because it was like 60 cents.
Okay, but here's the deal. Beyond the price of the card, and I'm a writer by trade,
And being a smart shopper earns me the light.
Beyond the price of the card.
All right, that was self-serving.
If all you're doing is having this card that you paid whatever you paid, 60 cents or $60,
I'm not overpaying for this card.
what are you writing in that?
Or was that a muffler? I
Is it
forget.
heartfelt?
Yes.
All right.
As long as you add
I'm
something
confused.
to it.
No, but
I'm
like
confused.
you open it,
you just
okay,
can't
and
sign
nobody
your
ever
name.
sees it.
There has to
ever
be a
again.
nice heartfelt inscription in the card.
Why is it Mother's Day that you guys are putting your foot down on the Hallmark Card Company?
Oh
is
no,
my
I'll do it.
question.
I'll do it on Father's Day. I'll do it on birthdays, quite frankly. Even though I do think birthdays should exist.
Yeah,
Unlike
someone
other
in
people
this
in here.
department we've learned does not believe birthdays should exist, but instead you should only celebrate Mother's Day or Father's Day.
I'm saving my disdain.
and New Year's.
My disdain and ire is being saved for the Rams going to Maui. That's where I'm really conserving all
And they
energy
get
in that department.
Australia next year.
Man, they got designs on the Pacific Rim there. What's going on? The Rams. We have to really have to counter that somehow.
I'm salty about the international games.
So I hear the Cardinals have a banger of a schedule release.
That's what I heard on Pat McAfee.
Okay. All right. Is that kind of an international term? Is that like the whole banger of and then fill in the blank?
Like bangers and mash?
Yeah, like that's what I think of.
Okay, you're sounding really old right now. I'm almost as old as you, Paul,
Or
but at least
should
I know
follow
banger.
that up? Should I follow that up with TBHJK? I don't know. Just what exactly is going on there with that whole terminology?
Do we need
Okay.
to move on to getting cultured right now? Like,
Man.
Well, here's the other if. If the NFL can turn the whole schedule release into a 3-hour primetime show.
it can't.
Well, no, they
It
are.
will, but it can't.
They will, and they are. And there's almost as many platforms as there are games this year in the NFL. So, I mean, you got to have like an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of where and when and how and what country NFL games are appearing and being televised. And you know what? That's good for business. That's exactly the way Roger Goodell drew it up.
It is a business. It's why one day this week, Fox was announcing their games on television, and then ABC got to announce a game, then Amazon Prime. It's not all just happening at once. Now they're making a whole to-do about the whole week just for schedule release, which shows you that people care, right? It might seem silly, but the fact that they're doing it says that numbers are proving it's effective. So people really want football when you've gone a couple of months without it. I am salty that the Cardinals do not have an international game, especially when the Vikings have 2. Why do they get 2 and we get none?
Oh, can I answer that? Because they won 14 games last year and didn't host a home playoff game.
Ooh.
And I don't know much, but I know this much. Home playoff games in the NFL are very lucrative. And so I'm guessing the Wilf family said, hey, throw us a bone over here. We won 14 games, didn't get a home playoff game. We want the international games. We want to market. We want to be able to bring our fans overseas and, you know, the whole thing that goes along with international games and why they're coveted by NFL teams. So Raj did them a solid.
And I will say, the only thing I'm going to say to that is let's make clear that the Cardinals only had one opportunity to have an overseas game. It's not like there's 8 overseas games and you can have whatever. They could put whoever wherever. You have to be playing a road game at whatever team was given these games. And the only team that the Cardinals visit this year that had an international game as a home game were the Colts. So there was one chance, one opportunity.
I really thought it was going to be the Cardinals.
Did you capture it? Sorry.
Okay. It's been since 2021 in Mexico City, which was supposed to be a 2020 game for the Cardinals.
Yes.
I was just surprised that they weren't selected as the team against Indianapolis.
Trust me, I wanted to go to Berlin myself, but alas, we will instead go have some shrimp cocktail in downtown Indianapolis which a place that I go every year for 25 years.
I'm right there with you.
I know who to ask
I mean,
if I need
Indianapolis
some
is
direct.
fine,
Yeah.
but I've been there
It's
a
different
lot.
when you're there for the combine versus going there for a game.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, by the time some people are consuming this edition of Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation, the schedule might be out. But once again, nobody really asked, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just here to tell you there are certain teams you want to play early, and there are certain teams you want to play late. For example, you want to play New Orleans as soon as possible. If they're going with Tyler Shook and they got a brand new head coach, a rookie head coach in Kellen Moore, okay? Jacksonville with a first-time head coach, first-time coordinators. I mean, Jacksonville is what, 29-year-old OC, 3 or 4 years ago was an assistant to the head coach and in charge of special projects. So these guys are going to be learning on the job. You want Jacksonville
I feel like
early.
that was an indirect shot at Nick Rallis, who was young and did a pretty good job when he stepped into coordinator
He
role.
was a position coach for many years before he was. How about Tennessee with Cam Ward? Right,
Yes.
you want to play them early.
How about Tampa? You want to go to Tampa early, Paul?
Absolutely not. Frizz factor. Don't want that.
Frizz factor.
And
You
then
may
there's
collapse out there.
There's Cincinnati and Zach Taylor, and his record in the first month of the season is 7-14-1. The last 2 years,
And they
the
won't have Trey Hendrickson.
Bengals have started 1-4, 1-3, and Trey Hendrickson confirming to the media he has beef with his head coach. Not good. We'll see how that turns out. And then there's the matter of Dallas, Dani. Do you want to play Dallas early? I know you want them on Thanksgiving, but what about the Cowboys early? They have a first-year head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, and just saying, although Dallas is getting the marquee season opener at Philadelphia.
I'm surprised that wasn't Washington and Philadelphia. At this point, the ratings for Washington would still be high just based off the season they had and the hype around Jane Daniels. I was a little surprised that the Cowboys got that week 1 against the Eagles. You know what? You say that, Paul. Schottenheimer has been with the Cowboys. It's not like he's unfamiliar with the staff, with the quarterback, with the pieces they have.
In Paul's perfect schedule, we play first-year head coaches like 8 weeks in a row to open the season.
That's right. And then you play the Niners late because they're always injured, and they're a shell of a team by the time you get to December. So you want the Niners late. And then, honestly, I don't really want any part of Jordan Love or C.J. Stroud or the Rams. Sean McVay. We don't sweat Sean McVay. What am I saying there? And then there's Seattle. I don't know what to make of Seattle. Very interesting. Seattle. There's a hot, I won't even say it's a hot take. It's their longtime beat reporter in Seattle who's reporting that Kenneth Walker might be in the crosshairs going into the final year of his contract. And they want more of a north-south run game. They're going with the outside zone, Clint Kubiak from the Kyle Shanahan tree, and they might be more apt to go with Zach Charbonnet, due in part to games like he had against the Cardinals a year ago where he just one cut, go north and south. And they feel like Kenneth Walker is running around looking for the home run, the chunk run all the time, and they just want to, move the chains and get north and south, and he averaged more than a half yard per carry better than Kenneth Walker, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see Wednesday, 5 o'clock Arizona times when the full schedule drops.
Correct.
By the way,
bangers and otherwise.
By the way, some of the offseason video of Michael Williams, 11th pick overall to the 49ers, that guy could be a problem.
Are you talking about that dumb video where he knocks down a overweight guy with a pad?
Whoa.
There's
Shots
that.
Fired.
There's that, but there's just...
That's nothing.
There's just
I can knock down that guy.
There's also some other conversations with some of the talent evaluators about
he could
that
be
guy.
good.
Hypothetically, if your team used a first-round draft pick, a very high first-round draft pick on a defensive lineman that was vomiting during rookie minicamp, how would you feel?
That wasn't here.
It was not here. Up north in Cleveland. You guys didn't see that video of Mason Graham vomiting through his helmet?
No. Oh, my goodness. Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think any rookie in Cardinals camp made that sort of impression, good or bad. Any takeaways from what we've seen and what we know of the Cardinals rookies arriving in Arizona so far? I'll go first. Hayden Connor's a heck of an interview.
Yes.
That entire offensive line room is a heck of an interview. I shared this with Darren earlier off air, Dani, that if we're looking for money content, and content is always king, we need to figure out a way to have a podcast with offensive linemen on this team. Every single guy is an unbelievable personality.
They would all be broke. They find each other when they have to do media.
The key phrase is money content. And I told Paul, I'm like, where's the money coming from for that content?
Good question. What was Paul's answer?
Well, we
hand
in sales.
Again, we're gonna discuss. We'll do.
Some guy sold the Maui minicamp for the Rams. Let's get on it. Let's sell an offensive line podcast. Right? I can't think of everything. Right? I mean, you guys, somebody else bring it home.
Paul's an idea guy. He's not an execution guy.
That's right.
Feed mayo to tuna fish.
What else? What else is about the rookies showing up that you like or has stood out? Any sort of other interviews? I mean, honestly, I think it's some of the year 2 guys who are stealing the headlines. Darius Robinson and Marvin Harrison Jr. winning the offseason, right?
Although it was funny, I was at Mack Wilson's charity basketball game over the weekend, and I talked to Darius a little bit, and because I was asking him, I'm like, you look chiseled, and he's like,
Swole.
yeah, and he goes, well, me and Marv have been at the facility basically every day since the season ended. But he said his weight hasn't changed at all. He's just got lean muscle now instead of anything. He's still around 285, he said. So.
Wow. Like it. Okay. What else from the basketball? Let's see. Marvin, he can get up and dunk.
Yes,
that was impressive. Trey McBride easily just off 2 feet, dunking with 2 hands. You realize how ridiculous as athletes these guys are when you see them in another sport and they excel like that.
Darren Hall can play a little bit of basketball. I noticed he was out there.
Okay.
Mack Wilson can shoot.
Darren Hall, one of the dozen cornerbacks on this team.
Yes, there's many cornerbacks on this team.
Yes, there are.
It was a cool thing. I mean, I guess in the end, you keep your fingers crossed when they play basketball a little bit. But
yes, you do.
It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's also fun when teammates show up to support. There were a handful of teammates that weren't even participating that were sitting courtside.
Yeah, there was a ton of guys, and I thought that was good. And, ultimately, you want this team to be close, and that's something Mack Wilson told me after the game is he's like, when I came here, one of the things I wanted to do was do what I could in the locker room to help the team get closer, because he said every good team I've ever been on, it's been close. I mean, obviously that worked out well there, and I think as Michael Wilson called Mack, he's a connector. And with his personality, you can kind of see that. So it was cool to see.
You know what? It couldn't be any more subjective, but the good teams that really excel and are successful do seem to have that camaraderie off the field, off the court. And you can't really pinpoint it. And it's, like I said, it's just abject opinion. But, I mean, if you think of some of the really good teams over the years, the last 20 years for the Arizona Cardinals, those teams they were tight. They were hanging out. The old no-fly zone, doing their thing. I mean, just, the Carson Palmer, Drew Stanton, all the costumes and the hijinks. And you think about the teams that have done well, they have been tight off the field.
Yeah, and I think that's natural. And again, when we talk about a tight team, it doesn't necessarily mean all 55 guys are always hanging out together. But you have good cross-section of offense, defense, and it doesn't, But
when you have 36 rookies over the last 3 years, draft picks and undrafted
helps.
guys, right? Yeah. It's sort of, you're getting closer and closer to the same age group, guys hanging out. Not as many guys, married with families because they're young. It's a younger team than it's ever been. So I could see that. Speaking of staying young, all right, Dani, you get your wish. Here we go. Let's kick it to Dani for what should be a rousing edition of... Dani, we'll segue to you.
Getting cultured with Dani. It is not just directed at Paul.
Am I the default uncultured Philistine around here?
Yes.
You got me very excited now.
I am on social media and consume more pop culture than both of you combined.
I think I'm being unfairly profiled, but go ahead.
Let's go. Right off the bat, I'm going to have to bring in Conspiracy Calvisi.
Oh, here we go. Finally something I know something about.
Here we go. The Dallas Mavericks have earned themselves the #1 pick in the draft.
Fishy.
For the first time ever, despite having 1.8% odds to win the lottery.
That's 18 ping pong balls out of 1,000.
Here's where Calvisi conspiracy consulting comes into play.
Bring it.
People around the internet, on the interweb, think that the NBA has conspired with the Mavs after general manager Nico Harrison traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers supposedly to boost ratings for LA, pair him with LeBron James, and then Dallas was rewarded with the first pick. And the reason people think this is a conspiracy is looking back the last couple of years, okay? When the Cavs traded LeBron James to the Heat in 2010, 2011, Cleveland had the number 1 pick. They took Kyrie Irving. The Pelicans traded Anthony Davis in 2019. The Lakers, the next year, first pick, Zion Williamson. Darren is awfully quiet for an NBA fan.
I'm just, I have a hard time wrapping my head around this kind of conspiracy. What would be the point? I saw Wolf arguing this on Arizona Sports. If you really think it's a conspiracy, don't watch. Go watch wrestling, who they're open about exactly how staged it is. I think it's funky, but like as I've heard pointed out, there was probably 4 or 5 teams that could have gotten Cooper Flag, and you would have said, "Oh, that's a conspiracy."
Are you a fan of the draft lottery system?
I liked the reason they put it into place. It's a lot easier to tank straight out in the NBA, in my opinion. So I like that it got put into place. I think it's gotten too sideways in terms of how hard they make it for the worst teams. I mean, you can't. At some point, you've got to make it. You just got to deal with the fact that you have bad teams, and I get it. But like you've made a league where it's so easy, where 1 or 2 guys change everything. So yeah, it's smart. It's smarter to tank. It just is. But I'm not a fan. Like, I don't understand how the absolute worst teams in the league, the Hornets or the Wizards or whatever, they're picking 5 or 6. You want to stop them from picking 1, maybe 1 and 2. Okay. After that, come on now.
The NBA has 2 serious problems. One is All-Star Weekend. They gotta redefine that. And then this whole NBA draft lottery, people just aren't buying it. It's just not working. And to that whole scenario you just laid out, let's see here. Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers without any other team being considered. So if Dallas ownership said, you know what, we're not going to pay him the mega Mondo contract, and then that word got to the league office, I was like, hang on. Just send him to the Lakers. We'll take care of you on the back end.
Do you believe that?
There's too much at stake for the future and the viability of the NBA to think otherwise. I hate to say it, but do you think there's any chance? Do you think there's any chance that Luka ever would have ended up in Charlotte? There's a reason why they controlled the trade process. Are you telling me if Dallas would have opened it up to an open bidding process and brought in all these other suitors, that they couldn't have gotten so much more in return than just Anthony Davis and a few frivolous picks? So, how can that happen?
I can argue with you that they knew it was going to. The owner says get rid of him no matter what. It's going to be unpopular, so you want to keep it as secret as you can. And if you start opening it up, it's not going to be secret. And then you're going to be in a position where the owner, you're not going to be able to trade Luka because it's out there that you might trade him, and then the owner gets pissed. Now, again, I can't stop people from thinking what they do, but I just think that it's the goof. I mean, I watched plenty of years with Kobe Bryant where the Lakers sucked and the NBA did just fine. So don't tell me they were all worried that the Lakers were going to be. The Celtics had a streak where they weren't very good. The Knicks have been. The Knicks are in freaking New York, and they've been terrible up until like 3 years ago.
But it hasn't been from a lack of effort. Go back to the David Stern draft where he's got his hand in the hopper and he's searching for the frozen envelope because that frozen envelope is Patrick Ewing going to the Knicks. Oh, I found it, and boom, Patrick Ewing goes to the Knicks.
We're getting the pinwheel out there from. Let's move on.
Okay, next on Getting Culture, Pope Leo.
I've heard of him.
I got yelled at in a room by Darren last week because I randomly whipped around in my chair and started asking questions, and Darren said, hold it. That is a great Getting Cultured point.
I did.
So I have been sitting on my questions for a week, which is this. Logistically, how does it work when you get a new pope, right? What if he had doctor's appointments or things scheduled with friends? Who packs up all of his belongings, right? He went to the Vatican probably not thinking he was going to stay as the Pope. So does that mean he no longer gets Thanksgiving or Christmas at home in Chicago? These are the questions that I have that I wasn't allowed to ask last week to Darren.
The Pope can move around. There was a Pope mobile. You have to have a Pope mobile if you're going to be mobile.
Catholicism is not my strong suit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he doesn't have
Clip that.
I'm asking questions that I have.
I mean, he doesn't have a $400 million luxury plane, but he does have the ability to move anywhere he wants as the leader of the Catholic Church. And yeah, the white smoke isn't coming out of the smokestack until the new Pope is good and ready.
So yeah, he can bounce back to the apartment and grab his Paul Konerko jersey from 2005.
That's right. Good. I mean, he's the Pope. For the most part, I think they do live a life of austerity, right? And, they give what they have to charity.
Biggest win for White Sox fans in decades.
Yeah, the Rockies, once again, tracking to outdo what the White Sox did last year to end up on the power pole in incompetence.
Well, you both have now been cultured. You're welcome.
All right. Well done. Well done. That was worth the wait. Let's hope the schedule is worth the wait that it was for getting cultured with Dani. By the way, in terms of the rookie impressions, was there anybody out there, I don't know, who sort of looked the part? I mean, it's hard not to look at Agent Zero just with the jersey on, Will Johnson, and not see the possibilities, at least I do, with him competing for a starting job right out of the gate. I just think he is going to be a factor on the depth chart from day one, Will Johnson, especially if he is indeed such a good scheme fit. And it was interesting what Drew Stan said on the Red Sea Report this week, that you look at his last two defensive coordinators at Michigan, Wink Martindale, who supposedly runs a really complex NFL caliber defensive scheme. So if he mastered that, he shouldn't have much problem, really mastering the Nick Rouse JG system. And then before that, he had Jesse Minter, who is now the NFL defensive coordinator for Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers.
Right.
So anyway, you talk about some of these guys who have already played 16-game college seasons: Denzel Burke, Cody Simon, Hayden Connor, all playing 16-game seasons. I mean, there ain't no stinking rookie wall anymore. These guys seem to be as NFL ready as ever.
Well, there is NFL ready in terms of length of season. That doesn't necessarily mean they're ready in terms of talent level or ability to play right away. But I mean, we're going to see. Like Hayden Connor, I'd be surprised if he's getting snaps this year. Denzel Burke, somebody we've talked about Cody Simon. Denzel Burke is somebody I'm really curious about. Like, does that kind of playing time really impact what he could do coming in? I don't know. I mean, they've drafted a lot of high cornerbacks, higher than the 5th round where Denzel Burke was picked, and you just talked about Will Johnson. I'm like, there's only so much playing time to go around.
Yeah. This is sort of the, in Seinfeld terms, did you ever watch much Seinfeld, Dani?
I did, because that is my dad's favorite show. He could quote you every single episode.
This is sort of the perfect girlfriend phase, where every single rookie on the list is like perfect, right? Every single rookie is going to come in and be a Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer. You talk about every guy making an impact. You could make a case, an argument for every single draft pick. It's sort of the old Seinfeld episode where there was that early stages of dating, right? And the girlfriend is perfect because you haven't figured out or realized all the flaws yet.
It's true.
So we're going to bash on Mother's Day, and then we're going to blame the girlfriend for maybe why a relationship doesn't work out? Okay.
I was trying to think, like, if you're going to talk in terms of like TV shows or movies everyone has seen.
Wait, how did we bash Mother's Day? I bashed the card industry.
I could bash those participating, like a couple of teenagers who were underwhelming in their efforts, and their old man had to pick them up on Saturday night. I could do that.
Again, I think this should be open to the poll of the people. Like, as parents, like, at what point do your kids need to take over their either Mother's Day or Father's
That's
Day
fair.
to their own?
It's my sisters and I who deal with the gifts and the dinner reservation and all that stuff for our mom, not our
you
dad.
should, but you're also well past. I mean, I would hope
How
so.
well? How well? Are they the same
I mean,
age?
I'm just going to stop right there.
Darren, how many times have you said the word, "She's your mom, not mine"? I get that feeling.
I don't think I've ever said that
No.
to the boys.
No? Okay. All right. I'm just trying.
Although I will say,
trying to role play you holding them
I
accountable.
had to text them because they didn't let Mom know what was going on for Mother's Day, and she kept saying, "Are they doing anything?" I'm like, I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, I derailed us.
Yeah. Looking at the whole Jordan Burch situation, I'm just going to throw that out there real quick. Dani, you had a chance to sit down in this studio and talk to the Cardinals' third-round pick out of Oregon. What stood out? What'd you come away with after talking to Jordan Burch?
You can tell from Burch and from all of the rookies, the only expectation that has been set to them is to do what you're asked. That's very clear. When you ask one of them, what are the expectations for you throughout rookie minicamp, right? Throughout this offseason program, it's do what I'm told, show up every day. And so that was clearly drilled into their minds day one. And that's the mentality, is to come out, and just because you were drafted doesn't mean you've earned a spot on this roster. You have to go out and you have to prove it and earn it. Burch is an interesting player in an interesting position room as somebody young who can come in and make an immediate impact. Josh Sweat is going to be interesting to watch throughout camp, and we probably won't see much of preseason, but early in the season is that going to be a true rotation, or are we going to see more of Sweat and just a heavier rotation opposite of him from the outside linebackers than we have seen in years past? But when you look at this room, yes, there is veteran presence in that outside linebackers room. There's still an opportunity, though, for Burch to come in and make an impact, because the players that are in that room have usually been used in that rotation base. So if you can find somebody that can go and can be a number two, honestly, opposite of Josh Sweat, that would be huge for that outside linebackers room.
I'm fascinated to see what that room looks like, that depth chart looks like after Josh Sweat. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities there.
B.J. Ojulari, who was at the basketball game,
was
he not? I saw him there.
He said he would not be playing basketball. I don't know if you'd heard, Paul.
Good move.
He was still rehabbing.
Good move. Okay. Baron Browning, Zaven Collins, Xavier Thomas, Mack Wilson Sr., when needed, will come off the edge.
I don't think he's going to be needed anymore.
Okay.
I mean, you still might want to use him out there, but I don't think. I think the need part, I think we're past that, right?
See, to me, and this is really just throwing it out there, but to me, I see similarities in the body type and the skill set of a Jordan Burch and a Zaven Collins. Both around 6'5" almost, both around 270s or so. Jordan Burch, I think, at one point mentioned they might want him to lose a little bit of weight, get down closer to 270 than 280.
Yeah.
Both guys can run, and Nick Rawls employs him as such. Zaven Collins, and I've mentioned this many times, he told us at the end of last season, the Big Red Rage, he had played 6 different positions. So I could see a Jordan Burch on passing downs. You know what? Kick down to a 3 technique. We're gonna do something crazy here. One of these 11 card pickup things that we like to talk about and have fun with Nick Rawls. Drew Stanton on Red Sea Report called it, said quarterbacks refer to it as a radar defense. When the radar goes around, beep, beep, right, and the little dots show up in different places, that's sort of like what a defensive coordinator tries to do and mess with a quarterback. Zaven Collins is that piece, and now I think Jordan Burch could be that sort of piece.
That's interesting.
In that thinking. Just because he can run and he has the size.
Wasn't it the fake punt that we saw, that speed on display?
Not to mention he's also our new bestie when it comes to jumbo goal line packages. Either give him the ball or let him pave the road for James Conner at the goal line. John Gaines, just concentrate on interior offensive line. No longer are you needed in that capacity.
I'm super curious to see just how Nick Rawls deploys this defense. Is it going to have as much trickeration as it has in the past, or does it become more simplified because you've upgraded the talent to the point where you can do that?
Yeah. Were all the exotic schemes out of necessity? Was that a need or was that a want by Nick Rawls the last couple of years? Did he say, you know what, we got to figure out a way to affect the quarterback, and if we don't necessarily have all the dudes and we're really injured up front 2 years in a row, then guess what? We're going to have to generate it via scheme. And so to Darren's point, are you more apt to rush 4 and drop 7? And because now you have the dudes, guys who can win up front one-on-one, yeah, I think that's very plausible this year.
I think when you're looking at intriguing camp battles, you go right to the defense. You're going to defensive line depth. What is that going to look like? Another position room that has relied heavily on rotation in the past. You're looking at outside linebackers. What does the depth chart look like under Sweat? Cornerbacks, I think, is going to be really exciting. And there's questions in your mailbag, it feels like, the last couple of weeks, Darren, about Will Johnson of coming in as a rookie. And is he somebody who can start immediately, drafted in the second round? And I think I'm not as convicted as the two of you and believing that the answer is automatically yes, only because of the talent we saw from Starling Thomas and Max Melton. And I think that's going to be a very exciting competition there of who your starting cornerbacks are going to be. And Cody Simon, the linebacker, right? Is he going to wear the green dot? Is that something you're going to give Akeem Davis-Gaither, who was brought in free agency? Because it's been Kaiser White the last 2 years who is not on this team anymore as a free agent. So when you're thinking about all the different position battles, the mind for me goes to defense. And then it's kind of pick and choose where you want. I think they're all going to be intriguing.
And that's why I still think, I don't know who's out there exactly, but I still think Amani Ossenfort would be evaluating. That's why I think these rookie mini camps, phase 2, going into mandatory mini camp, it is valuable. It is telling in the following way. Is a Cody Simon swimming? Is he, processing?
That's fair.
Is he asserting himself and calling a defense when you're out there in mandatory minicamp and it's 11 on 11? At least, is he reading and recognizing and getting you into the right looks and adjusting and calling the audibles and the checks and all that as a defense? If he is, then okay. If he isn't, then maybe you're thinking about, well, who's out there?
Yeah. And I think that's something that happens. We're not going to know about that until training camp. I don't see them making any moves now until training camp. You get this full layout of the off season. If you're going to bring in a veteran, I'm sure that veteran isn't going to be all sad if they miss OTAs and minicamp. And then you bring them in and maybe right before training camp starts, or maybe even you give somebody a week in training camp to see kind of where they are, if it's gotten any better, and then you pull the trigger on something. That is what I would anticipate if they made any more moves.
But to me, if you had to do a power poll of the biggest camp battles as it stands right now, I would go with corner. Not only do you have 12 corners, but you have at least 5 guys who could viably start.
And that's when you talk about camp battles, I enjoyed those conversations. There's always camp battles for roster spots. It's the ones where you're saying who's battling for starting spots, and that's why and I agree with you. I think that's fairly wide open. I mean, I think Garrett Williams is going to get a lot of playing time and probably start. But other than that, I do think it's wide open.
I mean, you mentioned Starling Thomas, who started nearly 24 games the last couple of years as an undrafted rookie. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Max Melton, who finished with a couple of strong games last year. What sort of year 2 leap is Max Melton going to take? Is a high round 2 pick just a year ago. And then Will Johnson, and then Denzel Burke. I mean, with 51 games at Ohio State.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this question. What's better? Is it better to, when we talk about these starting spots, is it better to have a good idea who's going to be starting? Or is it better to think, no, this is wide open? For a team, what would you rather have?
From the coaching standpoint, I think I would rather we have an idea of who the starters are going to be. What they're going to tell the players is wide open.
Totally different. What they tell the players is always going to be what's wide open. But would you rather know? Because you could make the argument, if you don't know and it's truly wide open, you can either make the argument we have that many good players, or you can make the argument we don't have enough good players.
See, to me, it's based on the position. If that's a situation at quarterback and you don't know, that's not a good sign.
That's no bueno.
But if it's running back and you need 2, 3, 4 running backs over the course of a season, that's really good because you need depth. You need a rotation. Defensive line, you need depth. You need a rotation. Cornerback, you could probably argue either way. I happen to think, and we talked about this a little bit with Drew Stanton, who was a teammate of Sean Murphy-Bunting's in Tampa. His best position might be nickel corner. You could argue is nickel corner.
That was the kind of the line on him when he signed here.
So, but wait a minute, you have one of the best up-and-coming, fast-rising nickel corners in the league in Garrett Williams. Unless Garrett Williams might see a little more time on the outside. Don't know.
That seems unlikely going into year 3, just how little we've seen him outside, but it's possible. Yeah. He can play outside for sure.
And then edge, like Josh Sweat, okay, highly paid, highly sought after. Once again, cannonball, the splash sign in the offseason, Josh Sweat. Guess what? He was in a rotation. At least he told us sitting right here, right after he came to the Cardinals, he was looking forward to getting more snaps as an Arizona Cardinal than he ever received as a Philadelphia Eagle because they were so loaded across the defensive front. But wait a minute, what does that mean? Because we know Jonathan Gannon and Nick Ross like to bring those guys in waves and like to have rotations. Is he truly going to get that many more snaps? I don't know. I mean, he has a salary and a signing that would say yes. But
see,
I'm curious as well.
I don't know where to put B.J. Ojulari. Like last year, we knew he was going to start.
Right. Are we going based off how he looked at training camp last year before he got hurt?
I don't know what we're going off of. I mean,
he looked good at that point.
He did.
Yeah, your top sleepers, your top unknowns. Go. B.J. Ojulari.
Ojulari would be one of them.
Isaiah Adams, right guard.
Isaiah Adams.
Rabbit.
Trey Benson.
These are all players who could come in and earn a starting spot.
So couldn't we put Darius Robinson on that list?
Could.
Do you have enough based off the 6 games as a rookie?
Not really. No. I mean, nothing concrete. I would say no. As good as he looked in August last year, that doesn't count. That doesn't matter. He didn't do it in the regular season. So for that reason, it's an unknown.
Let's ask this question. Okay, taking the edge guys out. Let's say you're starting a base 3-4. So you need 3 defensive linemen. Who are your 3 defensive linemen starters?
I'm looking at the depth chart here. I would go with Dalvin Tomlinson.
I would too.
I want to say Calais, and he's been a starter the last 2 years. Yeah. He has started all 17 games each of the last 2 years. But you would hope that he'd be more of a rotational piece.
You would hope.
At age 38.
Yes.
You would hope Darius Robinson or Walter Nolan would be that guy. Speaking of unknowns and sleepers, Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols.
Yeah.
LJ Collier.
What do you have? Especially in those first 2 guys who played a total combined 9 games last year. So
competition, baby.
Yeah. I mean, once again, how many defensive linemen can you carry out of camp? The last 2 years, it's been 6. You have 8 keepers at least.
It's going to be more than 6.
You have Darius Robinson, Walter Nolan, Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell, 4. Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, Dante Stills, LJ Collier, 8.
Yikes.
They might not need as many outside linebackers.
Got a lot of those too.
Right?
Though.
If you want to keep more defensive linemen, how many outside linebackers did they carry last year? Do you have that?
Special teams is part of that, though.
True.
Have they converted to a 4-3 and we're not aware of it?
They might have.
Is the writing on the walls?
Or do they just want to have that ability? Like, for example, Seattle with Clint Kubiak. I talked earlier about how they want to go with the outside zone scheme. We know how Christian McCaffrey's going to be back. And, Kyron Williams. You contain Kyron Williams, you beat the Rams. At least that's been how it's worked with the Cardinals the last 2 years. So maybe they want to have the option of when we got to go with 4 and 5 defensive linemen at times based on the opponent, we want to have the ability to do it.
We can ask when it comes to training camp. I'm not feeling good about the fact we're going to get an answer. We might just have to wait and watch week 1.
All right. Well, I don't know if that's considered winning behavior by the media or not, but for other winning behavior, here we go.
I see you. Let's go. Can you display winning behavior? You have to consistently display winning behavior.
That's winning behavior.
You got to define what winning behavior is and hold people to that standard.
Yes.
All right, we already mentioned the Rams going to Maui for minicamp. Enough said right there. Travis Hunter.
That's a cool story.
On a plane. Really cool.
He ends up next to a woman who, far be it from me, but maybe a little bit of an older woman. She needed some help with her luggage. He offered to help her with luggage. She had a lovely conversation with him. Even better, she had no idea who he was. And I always love those stories where like the person they're talking to is like completely unaware of like this guy and, oh, so what do you do? And what are you going to?
It wasn't part of the story. People were coming by and, dapping him up and knuckles and congratulations.
She saw the Jags sweatpants
that's right.
that he was wearing, and she asked him if he was an athlete. He said yes, and she said immediately she told her sons she needed his jersey.
Yeah. I saw somebody reach out on Twitter somewhere and say, who knows Miss whatever her name was that she was being referred to, and I want to get her my tickets to a Jacksonville game. So that's pretty cool.
There was a lot of yes ma'am, no ma'am in his answers.
I do like Travis Hunter. I do like Travis Hunter.
Yeah. And
he also just graduated too.
And being a
Double
local,
winning
being a
behavior.
Jacksonville guy, I mean, that's exactly what they need for the franchise, right? Hometown kid.
Serious winning behavior.
Right. Could revolutionize the game in a modern way if indeed he's effective on both sides of the football.
I saw this online, which means it's only 50% possible that it was true. Is it true that he's going to change his number, like
No.
change his jersey? That's what I thought. That seemed
he's,
too ridiculous.
He's wearing 12. He's wearing 12, and that's what he's going to wear. I did see that, but I think somebody was just
I
goofing
didn't
around.
look into it.
Oh, that's fair.
Okay.
Jacksonville visits State Farm Stadium this year, and you might want to check out the schedule release that comes out Wednesday and find out when Jacksonville
I heard that's a
visits
banger.
State Farm Stadium.
You know what was a banger back in the day was the whole Sports Talk Radio on Pete Rose. Do you know how many hours I have spent debating Pete Rose on Sports Talk Radio in my younger days? And now, just like that, he's been reinstated. Him and Shoeless Joe, really? Really? Okay.
Shoeless Joe kind of got screwed over a little bit. Shoeless Joe wasn't, if you go and look and read up on that whole thing, Shoeless Joe wasn't the brightest bulb in the shed, and he kind of got snookered into by some of his more advanced teammates into that whole thing. Pete Rose knew what he was doing was wrong, and he did it anyways, and I'm a little torn on this, but with everything that's happened, and especially with gambling in sports, it was inevitable.
Yeah.
Plus, most people that thought one way about it back when it happened, and whenever that was, 1991, whenever the suspension came down, most people are way beyond that. Dani could give a flip about Pete Rose and what happened back then.
1989.
Okay, 89.
My stance was always, look, it's the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not the Character Hall of Fame. It's not the Good Person Hall of Fame.
He bet on baseball.
Just put it up there on the plaque. Unless he did it during his playing
Put an
days, just
asterisk next to his name?
enshrine him as a player and put on the plaque. He's been banned from baseball for life. I mean, just come on, just taking ourselves.
would be-
I'm on the other
It's a
side.
That would
sports
be
Hall
an-
of Fame. You're taking it too seriously.
That would be an interesting discussion for any major sport. What would it take for somebody to be banned for life these days? I don't know that it's anything.
I mean, but, that's a good question. I mean, if they were in the sport when whatever happened.
Here's one. How about?
I mean, NBA. Who was it that was just they thought that he was betting on games? It was
they didn't think he did, and he was
why
banned
can't I
for
think
life.
went to Mizzou. Why can't I think of
Yeah,
his name?
it's
a Porter
Porter's
brother.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he was banned for life, but nobody's going to care about him, Jonte Porter, because
Jonte Porter.
You know, he wasn't anybody.
Go stand over there with Tim Donaghy, the ref, and okay. You know what could get you banned? Nudity on the red carpet at Cannes, right? I mean,
This is serious winning behavior, Paul.
They've instituted new rules.
Apparently they're just reiterating their rules.
Oh.
But there's been too many examples. I'm surprised this didn't make it into winning, getting cultured. There's been too many examples on the red carpets of see-through something or others and such that they felt like, hey, just a heads up, no nudity.
I'm curious if we say that's winning behavior. Okay.
To ban it?
Is that being a prude? And if you say it's not winning behavior, are you pro nudity in public? Are those my only options?
I don't know if it's being. I mean, I think I don't think you're going too far out there and saying you're prude if you're like, hey, it's a red carpet situation. Let's try and
leave a little imagination, little to the imagination.
That's right.
They've also banned voluminous outfits, in particular those with a large train. So no brides on the red carpet.
I did see some of those at the Met Gala.
Because it, quote, hinders the proper flow of traffic of guests and it complicates seating in the theater.
I mean,
Hence,
come on.
it's not permitted.
Paul, you've been a part of many, many red carpets. I've seen you out there.
I mean, let's go. We got a traffic jam here because this lady's train is taking up half the red carpet. My goodness.
Calvisi air traffic controller over there.
I mean, I can't tell you how many red carpets I've gone down in my day, and the train is always a complicated process. There's no doubt about that. Okay. And then scorpion hunting. I don't know how we make that segue, but that made the list apparently.
I had to bring this up.
Okay.
There's been some concern over one of our coworkers, team photographer Caitlin, who just moved into a house and apparently wasn't aware that there's lots of houses out here that have scorpions. And she did not want to consider that.
I wonder if she feels better or worse after purchasing the black light because now she can see the scorpions, or would it have been ignorance and bliss?
Well, you were not around when the original conversation happened. some Arizona veterans, myself, Mike Helm, Mike Chavez, were talking to her about it. We were the ones who brought up the black light, and that's how you kind of figured that out. And originally, I'm surprised she did it because, quite frankly, she didn't want to know. She wanted to go all ostrich and stick her head in the sand, and she didn't, and now she's terrified.
Some free advice from Calvisi Consulting after too many years here in the AZ. Go and Google up certain zip codes in the Phoenix metro area that are known for being inundated, rife with scorpions.
Ugh.
It exists.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe after Darren exterminates your house, Paul, he can make his way to Caitlin's.
There you go.
That's right. What about the off season? I totally forgot about.
It's been brought up.
Your side hustle. Is she
was
hiring your
joking.
services?
I don't know if she's going to hire my services, but I did say I would give her a one-sheeter on everything that she needs, all the chemicals and stuff.
Your secret concoction?
It's not secret. It was. Okay. It's real deal. But like I said, I'll pass along this information. This is what we do. We pay it forward.
That's good. Okay. All right. Well, the more you can do, as they say. So that's good, Darren. Fighting the pests.
Speaking of the more you can do, let's not forget to mention Kyler Murray has a celebrity softball tournament, a softball game on Saturday night coming into this. So that's May 17th out at Salt River Fields on Saturday afternoon if you're looking for something to do. And I think the weather should be okay.
He's the star in more ways than one. Not only is it his charity, and not only is he K1, QB1, but, oh, by the way, he was a top 10 pick in the Major League Draft once upon a time. In particular, am curious to see how he swings a bat and how far he can launch a softball. I'm guessing he's going to rocket a ball into the stratosphere. That's my guess.
Does that translate?
What's that?
It's baseball to softball.
Oh, sure. Of course it does. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got to be patient. Hands back. Wait for that softball to arrive.
Speaking of patient, are we going to go an entire episode without something being deemed worthy enough to turn on your lamp?
I thought he did turn on early for something.
Well, for himself.
You're right. It was sort of self-serving.
And then he turned it off.
Right. You're right. I mean,
I don't want you to force it if nothing has deserved it. I want to know where the standards are.
Yeah, what would be, Dani's getting cultured was definitely a ding. There's no doubt about that.
She's not going to argue that.
Darren's rant about Mother's Day, I don't know. It seems sort of anti-American to turn the light on for that one a little bit.
Fair.
But, and then, I don't know, I kind of liked there are two kinds of games in the NFL for sideline reporters, games with a roof and games without a roof. I thought that was some expert analysis right there.
That's true.
By the way, there are two non-division games without a roof, Tampa and Cincinnati. So
okay, let me ask you this.
Football gods, schedule gods, please deliver.
As we get to the close here, what's the one game, and I'm assuming it's a road game, and maybe you've already answered it with the Dallas game. What's the one road game you want to know where it is?
You mean when?
When it is. We know where. Shut up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dallas, if it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good one. Let's see here. What else? When it is, yeah.
Is it either Tampa or Cincy?
It would have to be, yeah.
Which one, though?
Well,
you got to make a call.
You know what? I'll actually take the Cincinnati cold versus the Tampa humidity and potential rain.
So you want to know?
I want to know Tampa. Give me Tampa.
See, I want to know Tampa because it very well could be our only 2-day trip of the year. So I want to know when we're going to be out there. What's that weather going to be like on Saturday? Head out to the beach.
It's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Okay.
Paul, I don't jump in here too often, but you mentioned that the Bengals game, you don't mind the cold. Just a reminder, on January 10th, 1982, is the Freezer Bowl game, a wind chill of minus 59. So good luck with that.
Well, we won't be there on January 10th. I feel good about that.
Minus 59 in Cincinnati?
Wind chill.
It could happen,
wind chill.
Darren.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be on January 10th.
You don't remember the Chargers-Bengals game in 82?
That's true, yeah. Coldest you've ever been in, and we'll leave it there. Coldest I've ever been in was 33 below, wind chill, Kalamazoo, Michigan. I was about 24. Coldest you've ever been in. Go.
I don't have actual stats, but I did live in Alaska for a year, so I know for a fact it was damn cold a few times. I remember getting off the plane when I was 5 years old because we were moving there, and we got there. Well, it was dark. I can't say it was at night because I don't know what time of year it was. It could have been could have been 1 PM, but it was pitch black. We got it. We were outside in the parking lot, and it was snowy and windy. And I saw my dad for the first time in, I don't know, 2 months because he was up there working. And I remember even as a 5-year-old going, "Oh my God, it's freezing cold here."
I don't have anything that intense off the top of my mind. It has to have been at some point. My freshman year, there was like a mini blizzard in Columbia, Missouri, because they canceled finals as I was taking my
there
finals.
you
So we
go.
were the last group, and I had to walk backwards across campus because the wind was so strong getting back to my dorm.
My fingers were completely numb by the time we did the pregame stuff in Green Bay in 2018.
I thought Dani was going to say the Super Bowl that was in Dallas, right? It wasn't that Arctic cold.
Well, I wasn't outside for that, but yes. I mean, if you're talking, I guess, in general. But yeah, that was the freeze, which is, I was just saying this, it's so funny, I guess, how different every place is. Texas does not salt their roads or do any sort of preparation. My junior year of high school, this would have been fall of 2010. We had some snow because Dallas gets snow. It's not a lot, maybe like a couple of inches, once, twice a year. We got 6 inches on a Sunday. It was fully melted by Tuesday. We did not have school for an entire week because it took that long for the roads to defrost and the buses couldn't drive.
And with that, we come full circle because, as we mentioned earlier, Texas is the all-out max legal speed champion of the United States. They have freeways in Texas that go up to 85 miles per hour, legal speed limit.
I think that's out in West Texas. I think I drove on those when I moved out here.
Good thing I never drive that fast here.
Says other states, Darren, with an 80 mile per hour max speed limit in addition to North Dakota, which just jumped on board, South Dakota, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Utah, Oklahoma, and Wyoming. Those are the states that you can go up to 80 miles per hour in, at least legally.
Good to know.
As for whether it's winning behavior in terms of your driving habits, you can talk amongst yourselves. That'll do it for this edition of Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation.